We knew that there was going to be a lot of attention on Lahaina after the fire. So we knew that we had to be in charge of the way the story was told, so that we could get people to feel it first, and then get them to understand what they're looking at when we talk about things like land and water rights, displacement, and sovereignty. Aloha kako. We just had the incredible opportunity and privilege of both screening our film, Lahaina Rising, and representing Lahaina and all of Hawaiʻi at the United Nations headquarters in New York.
The fast life, the fast living. They see the ambition, they know I'm past driven.
This is just the beginning of our impact campaign too, which is a continuation of everything that our community has been fighting for since the fire. Because 2.5 years later, my family and so many others are still displaced. The same corruption around our water systems is thriving, and the same systems that failed us on August 8th are still in place today. We went to the United Nations because our story about the fire and the 130 plus years of extraction that caused the conditions that led to the fire need to be heard at every level possible. And this is just another effort to try and move the needle. None of this would have been possible without the nation of Hawaiʻi. Had it not been for them, we would have went in there blind and probably not made nearly as big of an impact. Our Pilina with the nation of Hawaiʻi goes all the way back to the fishing for housing, Occupy Ka'anapali beach movement. They would fly down from Oahu, sleep on the beach with us, shovel trenches, make signs for our marches, and just, talk stories with us and enlighten us on the possibilities of a brighter future for Hawaiʻi. They have an existing Indigenous Peoples Organization status at the United Nations, which is why we even had the standing and ability to be in that room. And that platform took years for them to build, like way back to the 90s kind when they was occupying beach. And due to circumstances, they hadn't sent a delegation since before COVID, like 7 years. And because of our relationship and conversations that were had, they ended up giving us the permission to go and represent Lahaina on their behalf. The very first thing we did upon arriving to New York was change our clothes and brush our teeth, and then sit down with Dr. Albert Kebarume. This guy is the United Nations Special Rapporteur on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, which means that designated this person specifically to investigate, document, and advocate for Indigenous peoples when their rights are being violated anywhere in the world. So getting the opportunity to have FaceTime with him and share Lahaina and Hawaii's story about what happened and what's still happening is huge. Because when you consider how many Indigenous people's rights are being violated all across the world, you can imagine, Rada's pretty busy. So that was day 1 though. Days 2 through 4 were our intervention speeches. And it's funny because as we were walking into the building, the United Nations headquarters, I turned to Pa'ele and we were wearing our monkey suits with our official UN badges. And I looked at him and I was like, bruh, you remember when we were living on the beach as protesters? And we laughed because, yeah, what the hell? Now we're giving a speech at the UN. It's crazy. What a crazy journey. And so why though? Why give an intervention? When you give an intervention speech at the United Nations, it goes into the official public record, which is a permanent document stored in the archives of one of the most recognized governing bodies on the entire planet. And our delegation had the opportunity to speak across multiple agenda items like health, water rights, sovereignty, language and culture. One of the biggest eye-openers for me when we're up there listening to other speakers give their speeches was that we're actually kind of privileged in our trials and tribulations because, there's people out there who are being violently oppressed. They're being enslaved and going through atrocities on another level, unfathomable. There were speakers in there that were stating their claims and making their pleas, and then the representatives of those countries' governments would come on after and be like, oh, we deny all their claims. You can't listen to them, they're terrorists. How dare you even let them in here? Like, it was crazy. And it made me kind of feel like our problems aren't really that bad. But upon further reflection, it made me realize that, yeah, we're kind of privileged in this time and place that we're in now. But our people definitely experienced those atrocities. That subjugation and that level of violence definitely happened to our people. And so, in a way, we're kind of just further along in the evolution of our journey. Because of the efficiency of the organizing done by the nation of Hawaii and our impact producers, we had powerful speeches, and we were told multiple times by people from all over the world that we had the most powerful and captivating speeches of the entire forum. And there were so many groups whose struggles seemed much worse than ours, to be honest. But it was profound because every one of our speakers that spoke captivated the entire room and damn near drew a standing ovation every single time. Because of the foundation established by our kupuna, and because of the work done by the Renaissance giants upon whose shoulders we now stand, there was so much mana existing for us to pull from. And Auntie Pilahi Paki said, "The world will turn to Hawaii as they search for a world peace, because Hawaii has the key, and the key is aloha." We in Hawaii are creating a blueprint that the rest of the world can follow. Because I mean, bruh, 50 years ago, the Protect Ho'olawe Ohana beat the most powerful navy in the entire world. 10 years ago, our people united in solidarity to protect Mauna Kea and inspired the entire world to stand with us through the power of kapu aloha. This is all a continuation of the same movement that has been happening for over 130 years. And that is exactly what our privilege and Kuleana as filmmakers and storytellers is to amplify the voices of our people who are on the ground doing the real work in the aina, in the legislature, in the trenches of community, and ensuring that their story gets heard by as many people as possible and makes the biggest impact possible. The Lahaina Rising film created the opportunity and opened the door for us to get to the United Nations. The film winning at the Hawaii International Film Festival and the momentum of our impact campaign is creating opportunities that we are trying our best to capitalize on to help the advocacy and the community work. Throughout history, art has been one of the most powerful tools for social change. One of my favorite examples is Thomas Clarkson, who, his writings and the art he commissioned exposed the brutality of the slave trade and helped to end the transatlantic slave trade in Britain. Or how a book like Uncle Tom's Cabin helped to influence and change the public opinion on slavery across an entire nation. And that's exactly what we're trying to do with Lahaina Rising film. We knew that there was going to be a lot of attention on Lahaina after the fire. So we knew that we had to be in charge of the way the story was told, so that we could get people to feel it first, and then get them to understand what they're looking at when we talk about things like land and water rights, displacement, and sovereignty, self-determination. It took a lot of work to not only get us there, but to get us through it. Of course, a lot of people saw Pa'ele Kiokona, Moses Goods, John Garcia, and myself. We gave our intervention speeches, and that went all over social media. And thankfully, John Garcia, who is a part of the nation of Hawaii, from Oahu, he came and he's been on past delegations with the nation of Hawaii, so he has experience, so he helped us to navigate. But without the ground team at Pu'uhonua Waimanalo, we would have been lost. We definitely wouldn't have had all of our speakers speak, because we saw that. There were so many organizations and representatives there that didn't get to speak, because the list is long, bro. It's like 4 or 5 pages long, and every day they only get through 2, maybe 2.5 pages. Only pros accomplish what we accomplished, and that's a credit to the work that the nation of Hawaii does and the experience that they have in doing this type of work. And also our impact producers, Amber Bobin and Keely Badger. They're change makers, and they have been pounding the pavement trying to elevate our film and ensure it has the most impact possible. Keely, who's a human rights attorney, was there to support us, but she was primarily there for the American Indian movement, who she recently helped win landmark legislation around the fight for justice for the forced sterilization of around 70,000 Native girls. Blake Rommel, Maddie Schweitzer, Phil Schlieder, they were all there behind the scenes working their butts off, sweating in their suits, cameras, miking people up, being ready to go, trying to find the best vantage points, optics, and even just going above and beyond to make sure that we could focus on our speeches and be comfortable. They're also going around and establishing Pilina with other nations and inviting them to our film screening. And then there was the film screening itself, which was incredible. We had people from all over the world come to watch our film. And not only people from all over the world, but we had people from Hawaiʻi and people from Lahaina who were displaced by the fires, who lost their homes in the fires and are currently living in New York. They saw it on social media and they made it a point to come down to watch the film. We're just getting started with our impact campaign. We have dozens of screenings planned for all across the Pilina. And not only that, but we have more projects in the pipeline, more storytelling to come. Mahalo nui for all of the support. We appreciate all of the love and support that you guys have given. We don't really appreciate the hate, to be honest, but whatever. Nah, just joking. But continue to follow along on the journey. Continue to support us by staying involved, staying informed. Follow pages like Kuleana, Nation of Hawaiʻi, Official Lahaina Strong, Lahaina Rising, and subscribe here to continue to be a part of the journey. Okay, e holo mua kākou.